Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Anmar's Homepage podcast. I'm Anmar, and today's guest is Markus Levin, one of 3 co-founders of a technology company called XYO. If you're familiar with the tile location tracker, that little block you attach to a keychain or bag to let you know where it is at all times, XY built the market's biggest competitor to tile called the XY Find It, which went on to raise a little over $205,000 on Kickstarter, but that was only the beginning. The real value in the XY Find It device was actually the location data they were collecting. See, XY is a data network company, and their goal, in a phrase, is to decentralize location. Co-founder Scott Shepard describes the point of XYO, a project under the XY parent company, as making a data movie for the world. In his words, what we are building is essentially the DVR for physical reality. The XYO network will hold snapshots of the state of the physical universe as it's perceived by all 5 senses at every given moment in time. The example co-founder Ari Tro talked about is if you order a box of eggs, they could go bad if they reached a certain temperature. With the XYO network, you'd be able to track its journey back in time to find out if it ever reached that temperature. I was still having trouble wrapping my head around that kind of technology, so I asked co-founder Markus Levin about it.
Yeah, imagine that if you could query the world, so you can connect the offline world together with the online world. So you can say you have certainty that your Amazon package is at a certain place, and not just the UPS driver tells you it's at your doorstep and it actually got stolen or something, or you have any other data which is verifiable and like, let's say if you do a property transaction, right, you want to make sure that the property really is for sale and hasn't been sold before, so and that the 2 people, for example, which makes the transaction, that they are at the same location and so on. And you can do that through a lot of location data, for example, other IoT data, sensory data, which basically confirms the location of items or people or assets in that case.
I asked Markus how a consumer would be able to handle such complicated technologies, and he likened it to GPS. When we use Apple or Google Maps or even Waze, we're not interacting with the GPS technology and networks ourselves, we're just using a convenient app.
I think for consumers it's going to be pretty easy. I think there's going to be an enterprise layer in between there. So right now we built this protocol or these data lakes where we verify any type of IoT data. But for consumers, it's only relevant what's in their app, for example, right? Or if you look at a GPS, right? Like, how do people use GPS today? If you would have asked that question 15 years ago, people would have said, navigation systems. And maybe 10 years before that or 15 years before that, people would have said, I'm a mathematician and that's why I can figure out certain types of CPS signals, right? So, but today, if you look at GPS, you look at like Uber or your Amazon account or Yelp or all these things. So people don't really interact with GPS, but they get the benefit of the GPS platform layer. And we envision it's going to be similar for us. So you don't really need to interact with XYO itself. XYO is just going to make your life so much more certain and easier.
On the more entrepreneurial side of things, I guess, is it true that you and your co-founders funded this company entirely out of pocket with about $7 million of your own money?
That's how it started, yes. But then we took some venture debt, about $1.5 million in venture debt, and that was used up at some point. Our company is around since 2012, and we started out in the key finder and GPS tracker type space, and we had some issues at some point with our contract manufacturer and the quality of the products. We need to recall it. We switched contract manufacturers and then created the next generation of our tracking devices, and this led us to basically lose all of that money. And so when the XYO network was born in the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, we were down to 7 people and about $4 million in debt and $25,000 in the bank. and yeah, but we're such persistent people that we turned this around pretty well. And today we are 91 people and almost half of that now at a great position as a company.
The company obviously faced some difficult times, and that's common to the journey of every entrepreneur I can think of. Co-founder Ari Tro addressed the mindset and attitude required to take on a journey like entrepreneurship, liking it to being an artist more so than a typical occupation. He believes many people want to be an entrepreneur to generate wealth, but it's actually one of the most difficult ways to do that. So you should only pursue building a company if you have a passion for the journey itself and not just the perceived financial benefits. Markus also holds that same belief.
Yeah, exactly right. I think the drive for the passion for the journey gives you this persistence. It's like if you just go for the money, a lot of tech companies, I think, wouldn't exist because a lot of us are in there. Ari says he's in here to build cool shit. That's his core essence of being. And so he surrounds himself with amazing engineers and designers and so on to build amazing products. And if you're in there for the money, you compromise technology visions and other things for money, and that makes you fail ultimately, I think, because all tech companies I know, at least, go through these cycles. Right? You do amazingly well, and then something happens, and you're in a scary situation, same as happened to us, and then you turn it around again. And so if you hit the down point and you're only in there for the money, and you can't pay rent, and you're in the financial troubles, then it's just easier to give up. But if you are in there to build something amazing and build an amazing team and grow a company, then it's much easier to go through that journey. And because we recognize that this is such a core strength of our company, we actually renamed our company from XY as a financials company to XY as a persistent company about 6 months ago.
I asked him for a specific instance of where somebody not as passionate as him and his co-founders might have given up and called it quits. And he brought me back to that same moment he described earlier and told me that they couldn't pay salaries, rent, or anything else at that time.
We were 7 people and didn't pay salaries, and we couldn't pay the rent. Our contract manufacturer was knocking on our door and wanted to get paid a few $100,000. And how to allocate those $25,000 to even give us hope to be a company in the future again, that was some of the most difficult decisions that I think we made, and we bet right. And we paid our contract manufacturer $3,000 a week just to keep them with us, for another month or so, and then spend money on advertising to bring in more money through cryptocurrencies and so on and so on. So, but the decisions we made there were very impactful for what we are today. But at that point, it would have been extremely easy to just give up. I think most other people would have just given up.
What Markus and his colleagues over at XYO are attempting is seriously unprecedented. And so when I asked if there was ever a time when the mission seemed too large to accomplish, he said that doubts certainly started creeping in from time to time, but feedback from their customers and other entrepreneurs is what kept them going.
Yeah, I think we're all humans. We have doubts, right? Because the feedback we get is from this. One is this small group of 90 people around us, right? We all affirm our company beliefs in a way. But then last November, we ran a conference in San Diego called Spatial. I don't know if you heard about it. And it was our first conference, and in January we were 7 people. And at the conference, almost 800 people showed up. And we sold out within a few hours, a few days, I forgot. And all these people were so passionate about what we were doing, and there were so many tinkerers and other entrepreneurs which are building on top of XYO, and money people and investors and just enthusiasts. And they all showed up there, and the conversation there gave us such a boost in confidence, which was incredible. And yeah.
But what about the budding entrepreneur who's in the beginning stages of building their business and might not have that kind of market feedback to turn to? How can they deal with self-doubt and other similar mental obstacles? Markus says mentors, advisors, and the people in your network are a good way to do that.
I think for me, it's like I was lucky in a way, and I had a few exits together with the other co-founders as well. And in my early career, one of the most important things I got was having mentors and advisors around me, which I could call up for a beer and just for coffee or dinner or something, and get advice from people who went through bad situations. They always have something they can give you, I think. And for example, in one of our previous companies, we had a bunch of people which left and started their own businesses. And we thought, they're going to compete with us and it's not going to be a good situation for our company. That is the first initial thought many people had. But for us, it's like, this is great. This is co-opetition. We are all small players relative to like Google and Facebook and Amazon and those types of companies, right? Why don't we build something we call co-opetition? Where we help each other out with some advice and general advice. And so we had dinners together and those kinds of things. And of all those people which left our company to build their own businesses, not one failed. And I think the reason that happened is because we built this network of advice.
That was Markus Levin, co-founder of XYO. Something those guys did that I didn't get to feature earlier on in the episode was that they actually have a cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin or Ethereum, and in the XYO Investor Kit, which is given to anybody who invests in their cryptocurrency, you'll find a crisp $1 bill attached to a note. A phrase I found really interesting in that note is, quote, "I figured you could hang this dollar on your wall and one day your grandkids can ask, what's that?" unquote.
Yeah, I think in the fiat system, the problem is that you have no accountability. If you think about government funding, right? The Pentagon loses, I forgot the number, a few $1 billion a year. They just lose in their accounting, right? Or if you look at donations, how much money gets lost, or development help, or other kinds of things. Like if you have, the problem is accountability of money is one problem. And then the other problem is you have lots of control. If your money runs through a lot of intermediaries, right? It gets created in a way by the government and the Federal Reserve, but then once it's out there, it goes through a banking system and SWIFT and whatever types of systems. Everybody charges fees, slows down transfer times, and doesn't make the experience very pleasant. And we believe that cryptocurrencies are gonna take out a lot of that friction and gonna make value transfers more seamless. So the letter takes a provocative side, I think, saying basically the US dollar in that form won't exist anymore, right? But what we believe more, I think, is that the US dollar is going to be complemented through cryptocurrencies and blockchain. So maybe it makes sense to put the US dollars onto a blockchain type system. And maybe you have cash still, right? Because you need cash to allow everyone to have access to payment systems. But you can already see in certain types of stores or restaurants, they don't accept cash anymore, and the usage of electric money or electronic money increases and increases.
Before we wrap up the episode, I wanted to go over what I learned and sort of the biggest takeaways from my time with Markus. First and foremost is don't start a business for the money. No matter how innovative and impressive your product may be, there will be difficult times along the way, and if there isn't a reason more important than money drawing you to the company and ensuring its success, it'll be very easy to quit. Second is that competition isn't always a bad thing. You heard Markus talk about the idea of co-opetition. Both you and your competitors are the small guys in comparison to Google, Apple, and Amazon, so why not work together and help push each other further along? Their success won't come at the expense of yours. Third of all, make sure your company actually solves a problem for its target consumers. The feedback the guys at XYO got was what ultimately helped them get through the difficult moments. So if what you're building is encouraged by your family and friends but doesn't represent a valuable contribution to the marketplace, that encouraging customer feedback won't exist. So that's the last point: solve a real problem. A big thanks, of course, to Markus Levin for coming on to share his story, and you can catch all future episodes by subscribing to the podcast or heading to www.anmarshomepage.com/podcast and signing up for the email announcements every time a new episode comes out. My name is Anmar, and thanks for listening.